Okay, start recording again. So part of the deal here is that we are not dealing with mesh objects as we were dealing with in the table. So the first thing you need to understand is that if I get the cursor here and I go add a cube, which is how I started last time with the table, or similarly, let me actually activate screencast keys. If I click Shift A, so that's the way to add things. So I can get this menu essentially when I'm in 3D view to go Shift, so continuously pressing Shift, press A once, and I get a cube. Now, to go into the cube and change its geometry, I need to change into edit mode, and I do that by going to this upper left menu, or by pressing tab on my keyboard. So that's the key right next to Q. And when I'm in there, I can essentially select the components of the geometry, so the points, the edges. So if I select two vertices together by left clicking and Shift to add to the selection, I can grab that edge, press G and move about. And I can also do any kind of rotation. So clicking here to rotate on this button on the toolbar, I can rotate parallel to the screen, or if I use one of the colored axes, around the X, Y, or Z. So transformations, I now press tab to go out and I'm in object mode. And the same thing that I did on the geometry level, I can also do on the object level. So what might be confusing sometimes in the tutorial is, are you in object mode or are you in edit mode? Are you changing geometry or are you changing the actual object, the container of the geometry? Okay? Visually they might look the same, but as we discussed here, the thing that is called cube.001, or let's call it example cube, contains the data that is symbolized with that triangle, and that's a mesh. Okay, and from that point of view, it contains what you see here. Now, that is completely different, and I'll move the object now out of my way by pressing G for grab. So I'm grabbing it, catch it with my hand, and then I move my hand about on the X-axis by pressing X. So now my field of view in the where the cursor is, I can go add, and I will add a Bezier curve. So a curve is more like a line essentially that can be shaped towards what I want, rather than a three-dimensional object that is consisting of different faces. Okay? Anybody having difficulties understanding the difference between a curve and a mesh? I mean, you can tell me. You all understand it? So a mesh always has faces like so. So I have vertices like this, edges, and if I extrude the vertices and the edges, I get faces. Okay? Now, a curve is much more, and I select it, click on it, and then go tab to go into edit mode. It has essentially control points. This one, select it, press G for grab, and I move it. Select it, G for grab, and I move it. And then these are essentially the ones that, the other 2 points around the controlling point, the handles, are the ones that control the curvature. Okay, so you see now this is changing, I'm changing the tangent of the curve. Now what I'm going to try and do is recreate what I have here in terms of the textiles. So I need first of all to change my view, so I'll go to top view. Select the curve, press tab to go into edit mode. So I'm inside the edit mode of the curve and I'm changing its data. Okay, I'm changing its geometry. So I'll select this by select circle or just by clicking on it. And I will delete it by pressing X to say delete vertices. And then I'm going to select all and press E for extrude. And actually, problem is I have this one set up. E for extrude, X to drive it on the X-axis, and press 2 on the grid. Because I felt I needed a little bit of space from the previous one. So it could be 3, it could be 4. Doesn't matter. So I could go E. What's a good number? 3. Okay. So now the trouble is that this one is exactly the same as this one. And what I need is I want this curvature to start creating more of a semicircle, right? So I grab the handle and I go into rotation. If I rotate as such, or I press R and then 45 minus 45. So I turn it into a vertical line. And this one I'm going to do the opposite. So select this one and then turn it as such. And as I turn it, you're going to see on the top left, the rotation is actually live. And it's going to be 135. As an angle. So I click on both control points. Then I click on the 2 handles because I want to move them. But right now I have both the handles and the control points. If I press G for grab, I'll move the whole thing. I only need to move the handles. So grab, Y, and I move it. Let's say by 3. Grab the handle, constraining on the on the y-axis, and go 3. So maybe I overdid it, right? So how do I go back? What's the universal language in computers for going back? Control Z or undo. Undo, 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 undo. Control Z, or I go here, undo, edit, undo, and edit, undo, until I return where I need.
Does escape
No, escape actually cancels what you have as an active command. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think.
It just because it will cancel the command, it will take you back to the previous situation. So it might appear in your eyes as it is as a kind of undo, but actually that's not the case. Yeah. So I am back where I started, and I go grab y-axis 2, grab y-axis 2. So that seems a little bit better, yeah? So what we're going to do now is Shift D, select this, and then move it elsewhere. R for rotate, to rotate again. And I need to rotate how many degrees? 180. Very good. A to select everything. And I press A until I deselect everything. B for border select. Or I can just click here, shift click here. And now I need to bring this. I need to bring this point over here by moving the whole object, yeah? So let me delete the annotations. I will, by having these two selected, I will activate my snap, this nice little magnet. And here I will make sure I have active the vertex one. I can still go edge center and edge perpendicular, but let's try it with this one first.
Can I ask, is there
Please.
anything that you like press to get those two? Because I couldn't get the like both at the same time.
Both at the same time.
Yeah.
So to add to a selection, you
Right.
press the key Shift.
Okay.
So if you see me now, I'm pressing Shift on the left hand side.
Right.
So if I go this and then I go this, so that's how I'm adding to the selection.
Right, but like on the snap, the two different things that you like.
Ah, you meant here.
Yeah, I couldn't select two at the same time.
Again, Shift
Okay.
adds to the selection.
Right. Okay.
So if I click on grid and then vertex and I don't press Shift, it only switches between them.
Yeah.
So I have vertex now, and if I press Shift, I add to the selection.
Okay.
Okay, let's get something clear about computers. The computer is amazingly stupid. Okay? You need to be very accurate with it. So normally clicking means selection or drawing something. Okay? So most software, even if you, so what we're trying to learn is how do you understand and pick up any software? I need you to remember this class 20 years from now. Yeah? So when you're in front of a new software, the way to actually add to a selection is either going to be with Alt or Shift. One of the two buttons. Got it? That kind of changes the context a little bit. Yeah? Now, another way to kind of think of it is that try Alt, try Control, try Shift, and you're going to start remembering which one it is. Okay? Try to learn it first, and then we're trying to build essentially with this exercise muscle memory. You know why it's difficult, right? You haven't done it before. You remember when you were taught how to write? What did the teacher do? It's too far. It's too long ago.
You wrote things a lot of times.
You wrote things a lot of times, but also they insisted you would write it in the same sequence. They never went, oh, you're going to start an A like this, and then you're going to do it another way. They said the A, you're going to do it the exact same way, and you're going to repeat it. Why? Because you are building muscle memory and now it goes automatically. You're not thinking, this is how I'm writing an A. Okay? So what we're doing now, and this is why the first steps are challenging, is we're building your muscle memory so that you don't need to remember when you say, I'm going to move this, you're going to go G. I need to move it that direction, G, X, I move it that direction. I need to move it towards the height, so that's Z. I need to move it towards the depth, then that's Y. We understand this a little bit? Okay. But thank you for the question. That's great. That's what I need. Yeah. So we have, I do it again, select the first vertex, shift, left click, select the second, grab to move it, and then it's not going to move like this. Because the computer doesn't know, do I want this one to go there or do I want this one? It will only understand it if I take my mouse cursor close to it. So clack, I get this nice yellow thingy, and I click and it's there. Okay?
No.
Okay?
I don't get what he's not done.
You don't get a why? Okay, let me finish the exercise and we have your question already pending, yeah? And if I press tab to stop it, to go into edit mode, I get essentially a really nice path. Now we need this to have a little bit of thickness, so click on the cursor to go off here, and I need to add the thickness object. So here's some problem sometimes. You see here a circle and you say, oh, this is what I need to add. But actually that's going to make a mesh circle which is made out of straight lines. It's not really a curve. So that's not the one you need. You need add curve and circle here, which is a perfect circle no matter how much you go into it, yeah? And this one I will name thickness. Or something easy to remember like CC2. Okay? And then what we need to do is say, I need this object to be the cross section of this path. Okay, so I'm going to select the curve. Sorry, I moved the cursor. Switch to selection. Click on the curve object. And go on to the curve data here, and where it says object on bevel, go with CC2. So I'm communicating with the computer, I want you to render this by taking this. You know what the computer does internally? It takes this circle and then strips it along this pathway continuously. Okay? Got it? So we're going to stop here and we're all going to try. Some of you were getting this kind of result. I'm doubling this and I have my snaps active. I have vertex active only. And in the video, I was able to actually move this on top of there. Whereas now, if I go grab and I try to move it about, it snaps in various other kind of places and it doesn't work. Why? It's only because I'm in object mode. If I hit tab and I go into edit mode, I'm actually changing the data and it's going to do it perfectly fine. Got it?
yeah. Blender will still be up though, that's okay. At least you're not losing your control. I got a snack with
But now you create double curve.
It does actually show I know.
You are a master.
Not gonna lie to you, I had to do it in edit mode and take it off its 3D but I can't now get it to do it again because it's not full where it's supposed. But I got it this way.
Right. Right.
I don't know where I put that on. I don't know where I put that on. I'm trying to
Right.
This one is
The same process, coordinates.
I had the exact same
I used to make some pictures and look at like every person's now.
because I was just not thinking about it. I was literally like, it's just like that. There was oh, I have that where it dropped down. How did you do that? And then I think I like selected that and then
Very good. Okay. So you're in editing, right? You need to go and select
that it was, I knew
press C for circle.
because I was going to play around.
Select those vertices plus the one more. Beautiful. Right now, right now. Perfect. And then zooming a little bit and do the same as the other. You know how to zoom in?
I know.
Like you don't need to move your head. You can zoom in the view, yeah? No, it will. Press P. Click on selection. Perfect. So now you have a separate object. Press start. Click on roof. Zoom out. Press start, please, to go open click on the okay, so there's something like this. Let's take a look at you can engage with this mouse. Right. Yeah, so that roof over there, that plane is like this long. Yeah, this one. So, goodbye. You have walls, so your walls 001. Your old roof. So now we do. Make sense? Yeah, very yes.
No, I'm just annoyed that it crashed. I don't know, I think I crashed something and it just, you know, when your mouse just loads.
I need to show you how to retrieve stuff. So I'll show now how to save, how you can retrieve. I actually did it in the beginning, so what I said, as soon as I was looking for a file, I had lost my file, but what I did is I reopened the recovery file. So I'm going to show you how that works. Okay, makes sense? So then we don't lose. I have had too many heartbreaks and heartaches in my life, losing files. Did you go crash?
So I originally giving up. She was so happy.
No, thank you. Yeah. 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 I'll put it back in object.
Move it. Okay, move it over there. Move it like in this one. Great. So
I'm
now
just asking to see.
go again.
No,
Grab.
thank you.
Look at grab. But you are not with me. So. How long is a piece of thread? I mean, it could be like 5 kilometers. Yeah? Yes, please.
I've duplicated, but I can't get it to snap, and I don't know what. I think you said it was in object mode.
You need to have it in edit mode.
Oh, in edit mode.
Yeah. Try that. Yeah. So try now. You don't have it selected yet. So A for selecting. Perfect. G for grab.
Oh, there's that person.
And then maybe switch over there. Great. Click.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Sorry, I was just going to ask.
You were right, Iris. You do.
Is there a way of splitting them up?
Yeah, so you have them in the same object. So click tab to go into edit mode. Select A, P for separate by those parts. So immediately now it created two objects. How are we doing, guys? Yeah? Can you show it to me? Proceed so I understand what the problem is. Grab if you want to remove something. Remove that. G for grab. Yeah. Because essentially it takes the middle of your selection. Because you have 2 points, it will take the middle. To actually constrain it, you need to constrain it in the x-axis. Individual origins, you change that. Should be so when you change, sorry, most of the time it's good to be axis constrained, depends on what transformation you're doing. I'm doing it now because I know I need to be on that line, so then you will ignore anything on the left or right hand side. Does that make sense?
Basically just
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so it depends on what kind of direction you head, right? So right now, that is the minus of the y-axis and the minus of the other direction. So grab y, I move that direction, see I go 1 to the positive. So that's the positive. See here? Yeah. If I go with 0.25 and go out, I actually want it on the other side. So I'm always repeatedly finding, do I need it that way or do I need it that way, and then I do the opposite. Yeah? If I go extrude y, so now you need to make the other two and then make sense?
You need to select this entire thing.
Yep.
I was doing that before.
Yeah, so it doesn't. So the numbers when you're doing it, you see them on the top. And then the other thing is that when you have this kind of idea, you can actually measure things. So I can go, yeah. 7 by 4. Okay, so now you have the measurements on top. what I wanted you to actually start understanding is that I'm working on the computer conceptually. I don't go on the dimensions, and we can actually, one of the things you can take a AutoCAD class, put it inside Blender, and then you look surprised. No, what I did not is surprised. Because you did it without any kind of reference point. Does that make sense? Do you guys have any more questions? No? Good. Okay. Let's escape. Sometimes it has to do with where your cursor was. So you hit it over there, so it thought that you were talking about this one. So if you start here, you kind of deviate like, sheep dogs. Yeah, so this is okay. Last one about the textiles, and I'm going to switch a little bit to interior architecture. Now, one of the things we need to remember is how we go from... actually, I'm still recording. Oh, very good. So I'll need to edit that out. So this is a reminder, Theo, to edit this out because you let it record. Okay, so we have one object and another object, and most of you were going, I don't really need to go, okay, copy this and so on. I can actually copy both of them. Can I join the two objects? That would be fantastic. So select the two curves and then go let me try and find it. And then object join. And you'll see that it's Command or Control J. So if I go Control J, then I get essentially one object. Okay? I'm going to do it again. I have this object and this object. Shift, click, object join. And immediately I get one Bezier curve. If I click on tab to go into edit mode, I get essentially that kind of idea. And I could actually now Shift D with the whole thing. Here's now one thing that one of your colleagues saw. If I grab this and my cursor is on the right hand side, and I move it over there, well, yeah, I'm trying to replicate it, but it doesn't work. So there you go. So sometimes the computer is always undermining me. So if I really want to speed up, instead of only doing one curve, deselect and select everything, Shift D again. And I go in and I have my my thread.